So you want to become smart, and the world has a very specific plan for you. 12 years of school, 4 years of college, then 6 more years of graduate school. And after all of that, you know what you actually become. Homeless. That's not even a joke. But hey, at least when you make that Reddit post about how you can't find a job, you'll write it in perfect English. Here's the thing though, becoming smart is actually not that complicated. Even if you think your genetics are working against you. If you compare yourself to literally every other animal on the planet, you're embarrassingly overpowered. And when people say they want to get smarter, they usually mean a few specific things. They want to learn skills that make money. They want to get better at solving problems, hopefully for money. They want to understand difficult subjects, again, ideally for money, but also to flex on people. And finally, they want to sound smart enough in conversation that people respect them, but not so smart that people think they're a nerd. The problem is most advice on the internet is so vague and philosophical that the only people who could realistically follow it are Oprah and Socrates. And if you go looking for specific, actionable advice, this is what you get. Eat blueberries, drink black coffee, exercise, sleep more, take IQ tests, listen to classical music. Great, very useful. Except at some point you have to actually learn things. And even in the past, some of history's biggest geniuses slept 2 to 4 hours a night while sitting at a desk all day. So clearly, the brain hacks aren't the whole story. The single most important thing you can do is read. What kind of reading? Depends on what you want. Fiction is great for reading speed and vocabulary, and honestly, if you read a lot of dialogue, it starts to feel like you have friends. But most people go straight for nonfiction. And that's where it gets interesting. Because just by reading one good book, you can walk into any conversation and casually sound like you actually know things. The trick is not being obnoxious about it. Nobody likes the person who says, well, actually, before correcting someone. Change well, actually, to, it's crazy, right? And suddenly you're not insufferable. You're interesting. You can be smart and humble at the same time. You can teach people things without making them feel dumb. That's how people come to see you as someone worth listening to. Finding the books is easy. You don't have to read the same 5 books everyone tells you to read. Just think of a topic you want to know about. Google books on that topic, and pick one that looks good. These books usually cost money. But if your finger accidentally slips and you accidentally end up on a certain website and accidentally search the title and accidentally download a file and accidentally open it in an ebook reader, well, that's not really something I would know anything about. Now, once you have the book, here's what most people get wrong. Reading alone doesn't make you smarter. Your brain only holds on to information it thinks you're going to use. So after you read a chapter about cleaning a bedroom, go clean a bedroom. Doesn't even have to be yours. Just do it. And now that information is locked in. But what if you can't practice it right now? What if you're reading about how to jumpstart a car and you don't have 2 cars sitting around? Simple. Imagine it. Visualize the whole process, start to finish. Put yourself in the actual situation where you'd need to use it. Watch a video and pretend the car is yours. Your brain doesn't fully distinguish between doing something and vividly imagining doing it. So you'll retain it either way. The person who just stared at a diagram, trying to memorize it, will have no idea what to do in a real situation. You will. This is actually how school is supposed to work. You learn something, and then the teacher creates an artificial situation where that information matters, called a test. It forces your brain to treat the information as useful. The problem is the moment the test is over, your brain files it away as unnecessary and forgets it entirely. If you want to actually retain things, practice questions are your best tool. Not mind maps, not flashcard apps. Not spacing your study sessions by exactly 23 minutes. Practice questions. They simulate the real situation where the knowledge matters. And if you don't have any, make your own. Tell yourself the stakes are high. Pretend you're hanging off a cliff and someone will only pull you up if you can name every part of a human cell, whatever it takes. This is also why textbooks are actually the most effective format for getting smart fast. No fluff, no storytelling to pad the length. Just information and practice questions. They're not fun to read. They don't have a narrator with a soothing voice. But if you want results, nothing beats them. There are websites where textbooks on basically any subject are available for free. And again, I'm not saying you should go there. I'm just saying they exist. Now here's the part nobody talks about. Being smart isn't just about what you know, it's about how fast you can connect things you already know to new situations. And the way you build that skill is by exposing your brain to a wide range of topics, not just one. Someone who has only ever studied finance will solve every problem like it's a finance problem. But someone who has read about psychology, history, biology, and engineering will walk into that same problem and immediately see it from 5 different angles. That's not genius. That's just range. And range is something anyone can build by being curious enough to pick up books outside their comfort zone. There's also a trap a lot of people fall into, and it's called passive learning. Watching a documentary feels like learning. Listening to a podcast while doing dishes feels like learning. And technically, your brain is taking in information. But there's a massive difference between information going in and information sticking. Passive learning gives you the feeling of being educated without the actual results. You finish a 3-hour documentary on World War II and feel smart for about 40 minutes. And then someone asks you a specific question, and you realize you retained basically nothing. The reason is your brain never had a reason to care. Nobody was going to test you. Nothing was at stake. So it treated the whole thing like background noise. The fix is simple, but annoying. After you learn something, do something with it. Write a short summary in your own words. Explain it out loud to yourself like you're teaching someone. Make up a question about it and try to answer it from memory. Any of these things force your brain to actually retrieve and use the information, which is the only signal it responds to. Retrieval is what causes long-term memory. Not rereading your notes. Not highlighting. Not watching the video twice. Retrieval. And finally, the thing that will compound all of this faster than anything else. Talk to people who know more than you. Not to impress them. Not to show off what you've read. Just to listen and ask questions. Most people spend conversations waiting for their turn to speak. Smart people spend conversations trying to understand what the other person actually knows that they don't. One conversation with the right person can save you 6 months of reading because they'll tell you exactly what matters, what's wrong with the common advice, and what they wish they had known earlier. That kind of shortcut doesn't come from blueberries. It comes from being genuinely curious about other people. Use what you learn. Imagine the moment where it would actually be useful. Build range, stop passive learning. Retrieve information instead of just reviewing it. And talk to people who know more than you. Do those things consistently and you're already ahead of most people who are still buying supplements and hoping for the best. If this made sense to you, subscribing would genuinely help me make the next one.